Let me be perfectly clear. I'm not gonna make this video fast. I'm doing this video for myself and to keep a record of what hopefully will be history soon. In Sweden we have a party called the Swedish Democrats. They are 24% of us now, because I am Swedish. We have an election in 1 year. I never thought I would be in this decision, in this situation. I was born I was born in the 80s, beginning of the 80s. Then we have had some problem with Nazis in the streets. But they were pretty stupid, actually. Or I don't remember, maybe they weren't. Because this is what I'm gonna put here for the record. Swedish Democrats have written a white paper or white book in order to close the chapter, and they give this out this summer 2025, and it's written by Tony Gustafsson. 2024 they would release it, and it's about their history. And how much what is this, the history of this party? They let him go through their archives, and this is some bits and pieces from that report or book. I think it's like 500 pages. I don't care if you think this is phony. I do this for the people that don't think this is phony. As regards the Swedish Democrats' own publications, it's evident that the Swedish legal deposit system for printed materials has either been avoided or failed. The holdings at the Royal Library and the Swedish University Libraries are consequently far from complete. Page 15. When it comes to Swedish Democrats Party archive, the situation is even more deficient. Archival management has been highly inadequate, and the integrity of the archive has not been preserved since the party's foundation in 1988. There's a strong reason to believe that the archival holdings have been weeded on at least one occasion. Like they have been taking things out at least one time. Although it's not possible to estimate how the large proportion of the contents on these shelves consisted of an internal party archive material, it is, however, beyond doubt, based on Vindeskog's description and Wikström's film recording, that the party archive in 1997 must have been considerably more extensive than what is preserved today. The material for the years 1988 and 1998 fits into 3 standard-sized binders. The earliest has running number 27, the latest number 381. Of the series of 354 consequently numbered documents from this period, 18 have been preserved, corresponding to 5% of the documents. This means that 95% of the historical source material is missing. Page 16. Patrik En, who was an elected representative and a local activist active in SD Gothenburg during the years 2004 and 2013, describes the following in an article from 2016. After the party leadership struggle in 2005, Mikael Jansson resignated, and Jimmy Åkesson, who has made contact with SD already during Anders Klarström's time, was so afraid of the past that he personally threw the party's archive material into a garbage container. Page 17. In the publications that SD, Swedish Democrats, used for its 10-year anniversary, it says, on 8 February, about 20 people gathered in an apartment in Stockholm and discussed the formation of the Swedish Democrats. Another proposed name was, for example, the Swedish Fatherland Party. Much later, one of the party's founders, Jerker Magnusson, would describe the event as follows in the interview. We had two meetings. One gathered in 16th February 1988 at my place in the apartment here in Stockholm. There was a break on the 17th, and on the 18th we met again in a venue on Södermalm, and that's where we finalized everything. Page 26. Swedish Democrats Program 1996. A democratic nationalist recognizes that only a homogeneous society, ethically and culturally, homogeneously, ethically and culturally, can uphold democracy. Democracy, as it well known, does not merely mean putting a slip of paper in the box every third year. Democracy is also the rule of law, security, and the spirit of the people's home. Page 86. From 1988 article in the Members' Bulletin. A prerequisite for the democracy to function satisfactorily in a country is that the population composition of that country is homogeneous, ethically and culturally. Ethically and culturally, not economical. A country with multitude of different inherent groups can by no means continue to develop into a democratic people home nation, since many of the different groups will feel oppressed and marginalized in several different areas. The idea that all ethnic minorities should have equal influence and the decision-making power is an utopia that would soon lead to anarchy, which in turn will lead to dictatorship, since people out of sheer pragmatism and self-interest should rather live in the totalitarian state than a fussy liberal anarchist society marked on primarily by moral dissolution and lawlessness. This, however, is most unpleasant choice, since a totalitarian state entails a number of other disadvantages. Let's see if it will be. SD Bulletin is a paper that they had called the papers that were internally sent to members. 1995, a response to a debate article by Kurdo Baxi. You cannot change nationality, Kurdo Baxi. Realize that you are not and will never become Swedes. Just a little as we can become Chileans or Bolivians, merely because we might happen to live there in those countries for a few years. Nationality is inborn and has to with common language, culture, and history. You foreigners have nothing whatsoever to do with our history. People and land are closely connected. We Swedes have since the time immemorable inhabited this country. It is ours and no one else's. You have your countries, those are your places on this earth. Our Swedish people, this is from 1996, and for their internal newspaper. Our Swedish people consist largely of those whose parents were born in Sweden, and of those whose one parent is Swedish and the other from one of the countries surrounding Sweden, which ethnically, geographically, and historically are referred to as the Nordic region, as well as immigrants from these countries with Swedish and their mother tongue. Since prehistoric times our Swedish people are inhabited Sweden and are shaped our culture in a synthesis of its own inherent traits and a selection of influences from abroad. Page 494. I am Swedish. Both my parents are born in Sweden. I don't think if I take a DNA test, it's just Swedish. If that in the DNA test or. In 2000, Björn Söder wrote a letter to Mikael Jansson, who was the party leader from 1996 and to 2005. If we are to become a party that people can trust and truly realize that we have dealt with our past, such persons must be removed from the party. Unfortunately, there are still some individuals with Nazi, racist ideas remaining. It is the case that SD stands for some other ideology or opinion that we know express that was we not express in our party program? If so, the undersigned would find it difficult to remain a member of such party. Page 164. Björn Söder. But Ulf Ekberg, co-founder of ST's Gothenburg, at this point in time, 1987, had his background in more extreme circles. This evident not only at least from a number of photographs that became known to the public in the late 1990s. In which Ekberg had been seen giving the Nazi salute while wearing a t-shirt with the Nazi Remain Reich eagle, or wearing shirts bearing swastika and Ku Klux Klan prints. The first mentioned photography appeared on the cover of the record Uffe Was a Nazi, released by Flashback Records, in which included a song title, White Power, Black Manslaughter. And this is the man that later, a few years later, started Ace of Base and Happy Nation. In 2000, Björn Söder wrote a letter to Mikael Jansson. From 2007, there are the first signs that the party began to engage internationally in network form. This change was directly connected to the counter-jihadists, which took shape as a distinct movement, especially during the latter half of the 2000s. The counter-jihadist movement spanned a wide field, included everything from critics of Islam as a religion and defenders of Western freedom and the rise to conspiratorial, anti-Islamistic and anti-Muslim activists, some of whom advocated violence. A prominent feature within counter-jihadism was the first perception that Islam was not merely a religion but an ideology constituting an existential threat to the Western world. You think we built the Western world ourselves? Was it we who built it? Swedes? Joke is a joke. The thing is, they took out probably around 95% of their archive. What they left, they thought were okay, but this is what they thought would be okay to leave. And do you know how many they excluded in 1923 to 2010? 11 members were expelled. 10 left the party voluntarily. 6 were reprimanded and received a warning, and 6 cases were closed. Please, you all Swedish Democrat voting people, it's not about nations. It's not about costs. It's not. You just can't believe you are a truly supreme race. You can't do that. Because it's fucked up. I know no one SD voter is probably going to look at this, but it will make you afraid of other people, and it will make the world a sad and boring place where we forbid things and we give up freedom because we are afraid of each other, and we are afraid of other people's views, other people's colors, other people's religions, other people's way of living. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it to be not threatened by violence. It's absurd, I know. Do you know how boring Sweden is already? I don't know. It's cute. It has some nice places outside of the cities. But people people are shy, I don't think this will help. I'm so sad. This felt sweet. Do you know what when someone gives up freedom, when they give up too much freedom, that's when your clock's supposed to be ringing. If a friend falls in love with someone and they give up a lot of freedom, you go and save that person.